December 7, 1987, Los Angeles International Airport. A Pacific Southwest Airlines Flight 1771 is waiting to take off from the airport. The direct aircraft type is British BA-1-146-200, a passenger aircraft. The direct flight is from Los Angeles to San Francisco. This is a short-haul scheduled flight. It is very popular with the locals. A lot of people who work in California take this flight. A lot of people who work in California take this regular flight to and from work. There are 5 crew members and 38 passengers on board. The captain of this flight, Captain Lindemulder. Prior to joining Pacific Airways, he was an accomplished Air Force fighter pilot. He has over 20,000 hours of flight time. Co-pilot none. He joined Pacific Southwest Airlines in 1986. Although he had only been with the company for less than 2 years, but he is also an experienced pilot with more than 5,000 hours of flight experience. Flight 501771 was cleared for takeoff by the tower at 1500 hours p.m. and took off from LAX without incident. If all goes well, they will arrive at their destination in San Francisco in about an hour. They will arrive at their destination in San Francisco. The weather conditions at the airport were good. It was a good day for flying. At 16:01 the plane climbed to a cruising altitude of 22,000 feet. The crew turned on the autopilot as usual. There was basically nothing else to do. The plane would automatically fly to where the crew had set it. The plane was flying smoothly. At this point, the 2 captains began to chat in the cockpit, discussing the upcoming Christmas, what to buy for the children for Christmas. However, they did not know that at this moment in the cabin, a bald man was sneaking around. Walking into the bathroom, pulled out a Magnum revolver. A few minutes later, he came out of the bathroom. He fired 2 shots at a passenger in the cabin. And as the gunfire st. Before the passenger could react, he was already hating the West, North. Then these 2 people in the end, what hatred? How did the bald man bring the tools of the crime brought on the plane? The bald man's name is David, was a U.S. Airways ground staff. But he was suspected of stealing a $69 public money and was fired from the company. The person responsible for firing him, it was U.S. Airways Regional Manager Thompson. The more he thought about it, the more he felt bad. The more he thought about it, the more upset he was. It's only $69 that I can make up for it myself. So he approached the manager Thompson. He hoped that the manager would give him another chance, let him return to his original job, but the manager was a man of principle. He refused David's request. This made the bald guy a bit desperate, so he started to threaten the manager. If you don't let me go back to work, I will die with you. But the manager wasn't scared either. He said he would never compromise. When he was leaving, he told Baldy, the company does not need employees with a bad record. This statement made Baldy feel less hurtful, but the insult is very strong, so the seed of hatred in Brother Bald's mind began to grow. Next, he planned step by step to make the manager pay for what he had done. After a period of observation, he found out that the manager would take the same plane every day back home in San Francisco. So Baldy's plan had a major development. To shoot the manager and the pilot on the plane, and then, with everyone on the plane, to die together with everyone on the plane. That way, he could get back at the manager and the airline at the same time. It was a double whammy. So he got a friend to get a revolver and carried it with him. Then he bought a ticket for the same flight as the manager. Then he used his airport employee card, which had not yet been cancelled. He escaped the security check, and so he boarded the plane, since there were not many passengers on the plane after the bald man boarded the plane. Then he picked a seat far from the manager and sat down, and then wrote on the vomit tape on the plane, "Now I have nothing, I want you to have nothing too." After writing, Baldy asked the flight attendant to pass the bag to the manager. He went into the toilet with a pistol, loaded the gun in the toilet, spinning his revolver, ready to carry out his plan to kill, at this moment, the manager. After reading the vomit bag given to him by the flight attendant, he was already in a state of panic. The reason why Baldy had to wait in the toilet for a few minutes, first, to load his pistol, the second is to leave enough time for the manager to fear. David saw that it was almost time, so he came out of the toilet and went straight to the manager. The manager shot twice in the head. At that moment, the manager was killed in the cabin. Then he started to implement his second part of the plan. To bury everyone on the plane under his revenge plan, the passengers in the cabin were terrified when they heard the gunshots. The passengers hugged their heads and buried themselves, fearing that Baldy would turn the gun on himself at the same time. The captain of the plane in the cockpit heard the sound of gunshots from inside the cabin and the shouts of many people, had no idea what was going on in the cabin, but they reported to the ground tower as soon as possible, requesting support at the same time. The 7700 code representing the emergency situation was issued. Just then, a flight attendant ran into the cockpit in a panic. The captain reported that there was a big problem. The bald man grabbed the controls and pushed the throttle to the maximum, let the plane dive forward quickly. At this point the passengers clearly felt something wrong. There were screams of panic in the cabin of the plane. There was also a Pacific Southwest Airlines. No longer the captain, but he knew the plane was diving forward at this moment. If he didn't stop it in time, the plane would soon go down, so he rushed into the cockpit. Must have been in great pain after this incident. FAA took it very seriously and changed several federal laws which mentioned when an airline or airport employee leaves a job, all documents should be seized immediately to prevent similar incidents from occurring. Also requires that both staff and crew should be the same as passengers. Enjoy the same security procedures. In any case. Pacific Southwest Airlines 1771 incident. It is painful and frightening. This air disaster has been made into a documentary. This is perhaps a tribute to the dead. And a warning to the P.